Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We just at about 7:12 a.m. this morning, and we are happy to welcome on set with us here in studio BRADON Roberts, a Tobago officer of TTUTA. And this morning we're speaking TTUTA's feedback on C, and we're looking at the curriculum as well. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be on the program.
All right. Out and about this Monday morning, but that's nothing strange to you as a teacher.
Yes.
No matter the circumstances. As we welcome you here this morning, we just had the recently concluded C examinations. Tell us about the feedback from TTUTA in terms of the conduct, the management, and so on. What are your feelings generally as it relates to our students that just participated in the C examination?
Right. So first of all, I would want to trust that the students would have done their best under the circumstances. I know that both the division and the ministry, they had that caution on the Wednesday before to ensure that the schools are in good order. We would have seen the recent actions of bomb threats more so in Trinidad. So I believe that's one of the main reasons. While the information wasn't given, no confirmation wasn't given from the division or the ministry, I believe that's one of the main reasons for ensuring that they closed on Wednesday to do the double checking and so on. We did not get any reports of any actions of misconduct or so on the day, so I am of the belief that all would have went well, at least in Tobago.
All right, excellent. What is your general, based on your engagement, obviously, with parents and looking at our broader education system out there, in relation to what we describe as the pressures of the C examination at this very young age? And as a teacher yourself, we know all too well when we are now at this level and this age, that C is really only that stepping stone in the very beginning. What are the thoughts of TTUTA as it relates to future prospects and this examination in itself as a determining factor for the movement of our students from primary into secondary school places?
Right. So we have SEA as an item that we set in our minds that it is something that our children have to prepare for. So from standard 1, standard 2, we are getting ready for an SEA exam, but there's life before and after SEA. And even with the parents, my concern really is we have that attention where we drill those students from about 2 or 3 months before the exam, and then we let them go. So when they get to secondary school, where we believe the job is over, as parents in the main, and you realize they're not coping so well in Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, despite getting either 80% or 70% in the exam. We don't have the education where it is natural to the child. We have, anybody could drill for an exam and do well on the day. Between a month, 2 months after, you want to know how is the same child. And especially when we have the July-August break, we are not even practicing the work. There is that challenge in Form 1. So if we don't change the way in which we administer the curriculum, these high-stakes exams would just be a pressure point where we put our children under this particular circumstance, where our teachers also, the parents, we are all in this heightened anxiety and the emotions are high and so on unnecessarily. True learning to me is not being maximized the way in which SC has been administered.
What does TTUTA see as a possible alternative, perhaps down the road, or where discussions need to take place for kind of transitioning out of this pressure point? And I see that some changes have also been made where we are no longer focused on the announcement of what might be the top student or so. What's also the take of TTUTA on that?
Well, announcing the top student may be the public thing, but internally they're still looking to see which school would have done the best, and so on. We have that competition, and that's why for me teachers need to be level-headed and have that foundation where we are building these students for society. So my effort should be towards getting them to secondary school at their best potential, and then to society, and not so much which school is the top school, because we also see where parents would then rush to carry the child to whether I Signal Hill or see if they hear a child come in the top 10, and I believe that school have the answer. It's much more than that. To answer the question about what needs to happen, there needs to be a relationship between primary school and secondary school. There isn't currently. Up to primary school, you do SC, and we have about 8 secondary schools that have their curriculum. So whether your child gets 40%, 30%, 75%, 80%, 90%, it's the same curriculum. So we don't have secondary schools that cater to the child that is getting 30%, 35%. They get to Form 1 and they have to cope. We also have the July, August period where, again, it's a downtime where they're not practicing their work. So it's really tough on some of these students when they get to Form 1. And then you're meeting all these different persons with their different upbringing and so on. So the inclination to the indiscipline and so on, competing with their ability to focus at school. So with the change in the curriculum and making the curriculum more meaningful, we should have some secondary schools if we notice that this group of students have a challenge with numeracy or with literacy. There is a program in that particular school. So when the child gets 30% or 40%, this school best fits the need for this particular child. We don't have that. We just have secondary schools, and then you go on. So whether I go to Bishops or to Speyside, there is a secondary school curriculum that must be fulfilled.
All right. And I know one of the things that the Division of Education, well, let me first commend the Ministry of Education, because based on what you're saying, it would appear that the decision not to do it publicly at the level of the nation, so to speak, or even at the level of Tobago, has led perhaps to a little more healthy competition within the school environment. Because, of course, competition is a natural part of life. But more than that, you also alluded to the need for that additional programming support. I know when we would have had the division on, the Division of Education spoke to, I think it is Project Impact, as one of the strategies for reaching out. Would you say that there's room for growth in terms of building out that program in such a way that it can really reach, or you don't see it as meeting the broader objective?
In its current format, it won't meet the objective. But it's not to just scrap something that is not working.
Right. How do you see it improving?
Right. So as it is now, we have a program regardless of where the children's ability is. So we're teaching content still. We're teaching a program and not so much the children. If we have a program where the children and the teachers are different, so we have different teachers teaching these varying children, the teachers would need to take time to understand the child. So if we have a program where we have about 6 weeks to just get this program in, when do you get to understand the needs of the particular child to tailor your curriculum to that? So the impact program should not be as an impact for July, August. It should be something continuous where we assess each child's needs. So we should seek referrals from the teachers. What is the particular challenge with this child? Is it that it is reading, it needs improvement? Is it writing? Is it too slow that is being kept back in class? What is this particular child's need? So it's best to have the child's teacher play some role in the program and not have them dispersed in different spaces and try to have this thing packed in 6 weeks. So if there's continuity, then, but it will need some structure and, of course, resources.
Excellent. And I think it's a very good suggestion that you're making, going beyond just that 6-week period, because the good Lord knows we need to have some kind of intervention, particularly for those, because folks, we've got to face the reality. All our students are not going to progress at the same level. And it is the responsibility of those in authority, teachers, etc., by extension, for us to try to put systems and mechanisms in place to help support them if we want the society that we're looking for in the long run. Now, we're also talking curriculum. And for some time now, one of the discussions that would have taken place here in the Tobago space is attempting to customize, to modify, and to speak to not just what is that national curriculum, but I like to see add-ons that allow for what is more Tobago-specific, Tobago-centric, and so on. Tell me about the views of TTUTA as it relates to that aspect of the curriculum, and where what's the progress to date?
Well, we have been steadily advocating for a focus. It's just that the education system, there isn't a particular focus. We have various content and it's segmented to the point where the math teacher teaches math at this time and the science teacher teaches science at this time, and there's no relation. The child that doesn't understand the formula would be seen as not being so bright, and they're struggling, but probably don't understand the formula in the language that we are using. So if we have the example of the subject-verb agreement, we go to the textbook, we get some examples from there, but why can't these sentences be on tourism? So we're teaching subject-verb agreements. You're not changing the curriculum. You're teaching subject-verb agreement on a tourism background. or an agriculture background, so the child could relate and have more meaningfulness to what is taking place in the classroom. We don't have that. So the child who, let's say, lives nearby the sea and would understand fishing, would hear the dad talking about how much pounds of fish and how much they sell and so on. They can't relate because the language we use in school is just like long division, divide, multiply, subtract, break down, and there's no relation to life. Now, some would argue that teachers could do it on their own, but it will still be segmented. We need schools running particular programs. So we can pick some schools and have those schools focus on tourism, some focus on the TVET areas, metalwork, woodwork, even from the primary school level, agriculture, so that there is that direct relationship with what they're learning in school and life. And learning is life. And life is learning and the reverse.
So is it safe to say that this initiative to look at what might be a Tobago focus kind of curriculum is something that a tutor would be willing to support?
Yes, and actually, well, I would have written to the secretary for a meeting. We should be having a meeting this evening. We need to make a change. If we don't make that change, we're going to continue talking about indiscipline in school. We're going to continue blaming the commissioner and the police for not getting a handle on crime when education is the answer. So we need to get education a lot more meaningful to our students. Too many of our students leaving school without subjects. Too many children doing SE and can't read, and we just send them off because of the age. So I know that there are the positives. We celebrate those who come first in the Caribbean and so on, but that's the minority. So if we don't make a change, we're going to continue getting what we get.
Excellent indeed. Any other message or so you'd want to share out there, particularly for your teachers going into this vacation period, and some would say long deserved in terms of this vacation time out period? Your thoughts?
Well, the educational environment is getting a little too frustrating, I would say. When I listen to the feedback from the teachers and the parents and so on, it's like we're having these goals that we are not meeting, and we seem to be blaming each other. So the parents not there as you'd want them to be, and the teachers, some persons are blaming the teachers for not committing as they should. But it's the absence of a collaborative approach why we having this blame game and so on. So teachers, I would always commend them for the work that they're doing. And also to be open to the parents and even the supervisors, the principal and so on. We all have our emotions, that's what we deal with. As professionals, we have to put those things aside and try our best with our students. But I would hope that you see the little niggling things that teachers have to be facing with their increments and the gratuity and the furniture in school, like they're trying to make things work, that they don't have those things, that we could just focus on education. Most times when we meet at the division, we're speaking at the problems as to those things. We would want to be proactive. So at least when I meet with the administrator, we should be able to discuss how we're moving forward in enhancing the offering of education in Tobago. So teachers, be patient, and your association will try their best.
You just touched on something there very quickly, meetings and so on. I know some time back there might have been challenge. Would you say that there are improvements now in the relations, that meetings are taking place with the divisions, or the challenges still exist in terms of being able to get meetings in the first place before you even get to discussing and finding solutions?
Well, I would say there are great improvements. We have that relation with the administrator, whether it's a phone call, a visit, the HR team at the division is very welcoming to me and so on. Conversation with the secretary, the assistant secretary. While we would like to have more meetings, it's not that the secretary and they just sitting down waiting on tutor for a meeting. They are busy. So we are grateful that we're having the meeting today. During the period when we had the oil spill, we had regular spot meetings and so on. So the communication is where it's much improved, and I would say I appreciate the various parties for their participation in having a more amicable relation.
All right, good. So while I know it's not the responsibility of TTUTA, I just want to leave one note with TTUTA. Since those meetings are taking place, make sure you all start to discuss the school repair program early enough in 2024. We are early enough in the year to ensure that July, August is definitely a most productive period to prepare for our students to return in September. Thank you very much again, BRADON Roberts, Tobago officer for TTUTA, joining us here in studio this morning on the Tobago Updates morning show. And viewers, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live. We'll be right back.